Good evening. My name is Sam Millman, and I'm here to present my final presentation on the study that I did for my GIS final. So, just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Sam Millman. I'm the Deer Program Manager for Delaware Division of Fish and Wildlife. I've been here about 5 years, give or take. There's my contact info if you ever need to call me for whatever reason. Um, just a little bit about my educational background there. So, I graduated University of Tennessee in 2018 with a BS in Wildlife Management, and I'm currently a Clemson University student, master student, trying to get. Hopefully, we'll be done here in December if all goes well. So, just a little bit about where I'm at. This is Delaware. Most of you don't know where it's at. Most people don't. It's a second smallest state. We got quite a few people living here. It's kind of grown exponentially over the years. We are more or less an agricultural state, pretty fragmented, unfortunately. There's little more detail here about our state if you're really interested here. This landscape's really ideal for deer population, mostly because of this agricultural component that really feed our deer quite a bit. So we have some relatively healthy deer, is the best way I could put that. That and there's very few predators. We don't have bear. We have some coyote, but they really don't do. The population there is kind of like it's not a big thing for us. So the biggest predator in Delaware is humans. So a little bit about our program. We do a lot of population regulation through deer harvest, crop damage assistance, managed hunts, sharp sitting. We kind of do, but it's not a big thing here. We really look into a population monitoring. That's kind of our big thing because that's really all we can do. But we're really going to talk about the FLIR survey aspect of it here shortly. We do a lot of education publicly on our website. We go to these little meetings to kind of keep up with the latest and greatest of deer. We do a lot with our constituents here in Delaware. We provide a lot of hunting opportunities, mostly recreational deer, wildlife watching. We got a lot of our public lands, and then we have other activities that we do. Sometimes we captive deer. That's very rare when we do that. We have one fawn rehabilitator, and then we do like the master hunter program for our constituents here in Delaware. So to really get to the meat of this, we're really talking about our deer population. This is kind of a big thing for us outside of, say, like disease that we really look after. But we have to look at our deer population to see how our herd health are. If we don't have deer, we don't have hunting, we don't have people looking at deer. They tend to get a little angry at us, and we don't really take care of that. So the last time any population study was done was well before me, to a gentleman named Joe Rogerson. He did an aerial survey. Well, he didn't pilot, obviously. He contracted out an aerial survey, which is with FLIR camera work, which is forward-looking infrared. So there's a camera in front of on the wing of the airplane facing forward at a certain degree angle, and they got a specific height, and they're flying around basically counting the deer that they record. They estimated somewhere between, in 2005 and in 2009, they were estimated between 37,000 deer and 31,000 respectively, in that general number. It was a little iffy because there were some issues, but they still got some estimate that they tend to hold on to. Currently, we just don't know. I mean, we're still basing our numbers on that 2005, 2009 data, which was kind of iffy. So we're looking to see, trying to do a pilot study here recently of measuring our deer density now. It's been kind of postponed due to COVID and all these hands being kind of switched around in our state, but we're finally getting to it, and we're just starting the pilot study this year. This is our study area. We tend to break our managements in Delaware. Even though it's small, we break our areas down to these little bit more controlled micro areas called management zones. And it's from 1A all the way down to 17. I decided to use Zone 1A as a pilot area, especially for this class, just to kind of, do two things at once. It's a very urban, suburban kind of area up there. There's Wilmington, and then just north of that's Philadelphia. So it's a highly fractured area. Here's the hectares and acres broken down. You can see here, I broke down a lot of the area into what is habitat and non-habitat. So you can see here, this is like 30 some odd percent of it is 35% is just habitat. So it's not a lot. It's a lot of urban area. So I used ArcGIS to really narrow down what was and wasn't habitat, and that took kind of a bit. Thankfully, through this class, I was able to really hash out with what did I use? Roster imaging and data from there. Broke it down and really kind of combined all the area. Like I wasn't all that interested because deer are really adaptive to a lot of area. Like I can almost throw them in the ocean and they would start swimming. Um, so they're very adaptive to a lot of area. Urban tends to be a little iffy with all the people. So this red area here, this a reddish area, this non-habitat, is how we ended up getting it delved down into this bluish area was habitat. Once I had that done, I went back through ArcGIS and I had evaluate routes. We used 15 mile routes, which we were able to break up into 5 miles for this area because it's so fragmented. Um, I had it define routes for us to do this driving route, which was a little bit more complicated than I anticipated, and we used Arc Navigator to do a lot of that. Um, to put that out there for our driving transects, there was I'd have to put the program out there where you can have it define the driving transects, but we were able to do that. Once we got out there, this is actually a picture of my wife. Um, we used this infrared handheld camera. I guess it's camera is probably a bad word, but that's okay. And with it, it had a rangefinder. So out in the field, we would see deer, say in this field that we see here. The IR we would see it, we would stop, and it would get a range between the car and a perpendicular distance between the car and the deer. So say we'd stop, and I don't know what this deer are, 70 meters or something like that. She would go, or I would go in and back into what I would use through ArcGIS Survey 123, and we would collect that data. So you can see that here, where the deer are out in the field. This reticle here would point at the deer, and we would measure the group, a cluster rather than an individual, and we would go back and record that. Take that back into Survey 123. This is the Survey 123. This is the data some of the data, just some of the data we were recording. Once we got all that back, I'd take it back, and I came, downloaded all the data from Survey 123, dumped it into R, where we used distance sampling scripts, which I'm still working on. I'm not real proficient in R, so I've had a lot of people help me with this, and it's still kind of iffy. And dump out a number, really, to give us what our density was. So that'll be, I know there's a mouthful coming out at you all at once, but just kind of hang with me here. The result of that was we collected we observed 463 deer within 3 nights is what we did, grouped in 3 nights. And then of that was about 187 groups. We did 2 detection functions on that, which one was a half normal, one was a half rate or hazard rate. Of the 2, the hazard rate seemed to fit our model a lot better. I don't know how right this number is. I'm still trying to figure out how to extrapolate that number and expand it to the total, not just survey area, because that's what this is for, just the survey area. There was 1.1 deer per square mile. Well, 0.4 deer per square kilometer. I don't know how accurate that is. I just don't know enough about art to say, yes, this is the right number. Anyway, the half normal rate gave us this, which is whatever. What was more interesting to me at this point was the detection probability was about 23%, I think it was. But we really saw these are all the detections here. And you can see the distance between 0 to 200 meters. You see it drops off, which is what we should see. That much I do know. We should see this. Now, we were going out to 500 meters, but we had to truncate that for better, something that would make more sense than what we would typically see out in the field. So these are the results. We're looking at least 1.1 deer per square mile, which might be accurate, but I don't know yet. I'll get back to you on that one. This is also very preliminary. Here are the conclusions I got from that. So this driving transect and rangefinder technology is great. I think it'll be great for estimating the rest of Delaware. I just need to really fine tune all the stuff. Like I need to really get into R and distance sampling, blah, 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 a little bit better. There are some visibility issues, but we can work on that as it goes. I'm sure there's some covariance that we can put into this to make more sense. Um, to validate some of this, we could do some aerial surveys, maybe. We can refine a lot of this a little bit better. There's just so much to this that I can't wait to really delve into it more, and this class has really helped me be able to do that. So I know that's really rushed. There's a whole lot going on there. Um, Here are the citations that I have for my work. It's all my citations that I use for now. And if you should have any questions, feel free to call me, email me. All my information was there for you. Thank you.